What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bitchuation Room with me, your host, Francesca Fiorentini. So happy to have you here. We have such a great show. Miles Gray of the Daily Zeitgeist is back at long last. It has been way too long. And then later in the program, an investigative journalist for Dropsite News, Camila Lourdes Galarza, who's been breaking just some of the most incredible stories around the boat strikes, boat murders that have been taking place off the coast of Ecuador, off the coast of Venezuela. We're going to dig into everything that is going on related to these so-called narco-terrorist boat strikes. None of that is actually, they are fishermen and civilians, and we're going to talk all about it. Also going to get into a little bit of the WNBA non-drama, just the need to make drama as cis men often do. And then Jared Kushner and Hakeem Jeffries break bread. They have a beer, as we like to say. So if you're here, like and share the stream, do all the things, palm the keypad, give this podcast 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. And just a quick shout out to the people of Minnesota and Minneapolis, and specifically the people that came to see me, Matt, Liz Winstead, Zainab Mohammed on Thursday, August 20th. That was last week. Thank you so much. What a great show. What a great night. You guys can listen to that. We put it out as an audio podcast. We were going to do a video, but Matt did not format the card. And that's what, when you hire your partner, things slip through the cracks. That is why you should become a patron and be like, you know what, Francesca deserves her own AV. Let Matt off the hook. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room is where you go to do that. And we've been taking a mini break from our exclusive new interview series, in-studio interview series called Hot Button. But we are back this Saturday. The episode comes out. Again, if you're a supporter of the show, you get the full hour. If you are just here and you like the show, but you can't support financially, you get 30 minutes, which is a lot. But if you want all the good stuff, all the stuff they hide behind the paywall, and by they, I mean me, become a patron. So many reasons to subscribe for the year: free stickers, free mugs, free t-shirts when you become a Franny Pack member at $20 a month. So that is my preferred method of supporting the show. You can also become a member on YouTube. You can become a paid member on Substack, where we are streaming now. Also on Twitch. What up, poggers or something, for the 15 people who are watching. Matt and I continue our little road tour. Next up, Seattle, Washington, Friday and Saturday, September 4th and 5th. We have 3 stand-up shows. It's going to be so good at Laughs Comedy Club. Then Monday, September 7th, that is Labor Day. Matt and I will be at Helium Comedy Club for a live edition of the Bitchuation Room with, drum roll, Mike Figueredo, Abby Martin, and counselor Samir Kanal. We are going to be talking about politics in Portland and Oregon, but the news, the views, the things. I'm like, it's going to be such a great show. And then the next night, Matt and I will be co-headlining also at Helium. Back in LA on October 4th, Emma Vigland is here for a live edition of the Bitchuation Room. A little matinee, guys. Okay, a very what's the thing that I love with the vodka? My brain isn't working anymore. What's the thing that I love that you drink at breakfast time? A Bloody Mary. That's what it is. Anyone else a plain Bloody Mary person? I had a Bloody Mary on the way to Minneapolis, and they gave me a little packet of like crystallized lime, and it was great. It was excellent. It's either that or chamomile tea. One of the two. I just need to relax. You know what I'm saying? So come get tickets and come see us there. So many things happening. God, so much has happened this week. I did not get my act together because there was late breaking news that we will talk about, which is that the legend Dolly Parton has passed. But I didn't get my act together to really write a proper Orange Man Bad. So let me just bring my guest in and bitch about a smattering of things. He's the co-host of the Daily Zeitgeist and the podcast 420 Day Fiance. Please welcome Miles Gray.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Man, oh boy.
What's up?
You want to talk bad about Orange Man?
The Orange Man is bad. He stays bad.
Yeah. I was just starting to believe in him too, but yeah, I guess I'll hear you out.
Can I just say that having Natalie Harp's like love letters out to Trump that are so like you can feel her like cutting herself as she's like writing them.
Yeah. She's like writing it in blood. Like the draft that the Daily Beast had is actually written in blood.
It's 100%.
And fingernail clippings as a quill.
Just like some bitches need feminism 1.0. You know what I mean? I just feel like so many MAGA ladies are like, you don't actually have to live like this.
It's just an odd thing. I'm just also struck by when her brother was like, this ain't the first president she's been kind of freaking out over, just so you know. Who's like, and her brother's like a Sandinista, like living in Nicaragua. And I'm like, what the
wait, is he in Nicaragua or is he in San Diego just getting high?
I don't know. There was a picture of him in Nicaragua. Like the article had pictures of him like living in Nicaragua.
Dude, I love that.
But yeah, and then I think apparently like she was told it's like maybe you should not try and contact George W. Bush anymore. I don't know what that meant. If the Secret Service had to like visit.
Laura Bush like actually loved her husband. You know, say what you will about that murderous duo. Yeah. It was like Laura was
stay away from him.
Don't ever contact him again. She was also like 17. It was like as soon as she turned 18, they were like, it's okay.
Right. Now let the letters flow. Let the
letters flow. The other thing that's been happening this week, you know, it's so painful. Like I can't even look at these images. But like the Bureau of Land Management just straight up like chasing down wild horses and wild Mustangs with helicopters, sending them to slaughter. And apparently it's not even for the money because it's at a loss that they're like sending these horses to slaughter. It's like $3,000 to herd a Mustang, and then they're making like 700. It's so sad.
Oh God, at a cost to us.
At a cost to us.
Of course. I mean, like it just feels perfectly Trumpian to be like, this thing that isn't a problem, these, protected wild horses. Well, yeah, we're going to slaughter them at a tremendous expense to us.
That's what it said in Project 2025, which apparently it did say that in Project 2025. And you're like, why? So you can turn those into like ranches for your women slaves? Like, what fucking cult are you trying to, grow?
Don't activate the horse girls of America.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The horse girls. The white. I mean, look, not all horse girls are white. No, I just want to lay that out there. But
most are.
Most of them.
But most are. Yes. It's not easy getting a horse. I've come to learn growing up.
No, it's apparently like very expensive. Like the whole like I want a pony. Making good on that is a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Don't do that. I'm like, I'm gonna put on the Genuine music video for you. There you go. That's your pony. Check that one out. Okay.
We'll cue up Renaissance right after. That pony glitters. Yeah. So I was bitching about a number of things, but then Miss Dolly Parton passed, Miles. So I have to bitch about the fact that we lost a real one. We can't, like, I had to double check that Cheney had died because usually my go-to thing is to be like, and Cheney's still alive.
Right.
But that fool did die.
Yeah, he did.
But Dolly Parton died. She was 80 years old, a saint of the South, really, like a musical genius, groundbreaker, born in Appalachia, born like dirt poor, and then just lived the most moral, and to be honest, like, Christian values whatever the fuck the like good Christian values of love thy neighbor, help the sick,
others,
poor, do unto others, thou shalt not, freak out over trans people. In fact, here was Dolly back during the bathroom bill discussion. Here were her thoughts on bathrooms and what bathroom trans people should use.
I think everybody should be treated with respect. I don't judge people. I try not to get too caught up in all the controversy of things. I hope that everybody gets a chance to be who and what they are. I just know if I have to pee, I'm going to pee. I don't care where it's going to be.
Truer words have never been spoken.
If I have to pee, I'm going to pee.
And that's just what it is. I'm going to pee.
I don't think much about it. I mean, and this is like, I keep on thinking like, and I've been checking like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. I've been checking all the MAGA accounts to see how they're going to try to bear hug Dolly into making her something she wasn't.
Yeah. I don't think
Because you cannot say, and the same goes for, she largely said she was apolitical, or like wasn't a Democrat or a Republican. She was just like a actual good person.
Yeah.
A couple more things. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it'll just be hard. I mean, like, I think the most they can do is try and take the fact that she's said, like, I'm not trying to be political, to then just sort of use that as their inroad to be like, and look, I mean, she knew when it was a time for politics and wasn't, rather than like pointing to, and what do you think her values were? Because I think they might be completely at odds with what yours are, or your lack of values.
Absolutely. In a statement, her nephew said that she wanted to be laid to rest in cotton, and on like a bed of cotton, because she was tired of wearing rhinestones all her life and she deserved to rest.
Wow. That's
which is so Dolly. Like, she was so funny.
Yeah.
So fucking funny. Here she is. Remember, she donated $1 million to Vanderbilt University to develop the Moderna vaccine. She also funded a bunch of like medical research and all this, and specifically in Sevier County, which is in Tennessee. I think I'm saying it right. Sevier County. She was like the epitome of give back to where you're from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lift up where you're from. So here she is getting, if you remember this.
It's me. I'm finally going to get my vaccine. I'm so excited. I've been waiting a while. I'm old enough to get it, and I'm smart enough to get it. Hey. So I'm very happy that I'm going to get my Moderna shot today. And I wanted to tell everybody, I think you should get out there and do it too. I even changed one of my songs to fit the occasion. It goes, vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you, please don't hesitate. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Because once you're dead, then that's a bit too late. I know I'm trying to be funny now, but I'm dead serious about the vaccine. I think we all want to get back to normal, whatever that is, and that would be a great shot in the arm, wouldn't it, if we could get back to that. But anyhow, I just wanted to encourage everybody, because the sooner we get to feeling better, the sooner we are going to get back to being normal. So I just want to say to all of you cowards out there, don't be such a chicken squat. Get out there and get shot.
Don't be such a chicken squat.
Exactly. Don't be a chicken squat.
This is like, a Nancy Pelosiism I never heard about, but like, sorry I didn't mention them in the same breath. That's like very rude.
Don't do that.
Is skunk tinkle, chicken squat. Don't be a chicken squat. And just again, so effortlessly funny. I mean, that voice, the voice of a friggin' angel.
Like birds. You're just like, oh, yes. Thank you. I'm sure. Yeah. But you know what? That's the quote that maybe she won't get the right wing sort of hagiography that they'd want to, trot out there when she's been saying the vaccine, get the vaccine. Or maybe they'll just sort of memory hole that and be like, she was a great white woman.
Yes,
who sang about white things.
But that's, speaking of horse girls, and I don't know if Dolly was a horse girl or not. I do think that like she was the best. Huh?
So definitely into butterflies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's her thing.
She was the best of us white women. You know what I mean? Yeah, or half of me,
Sure,
like she was the best of white women. It's like, that's the kind of model, like white woman from the South, Christian, like that we can actually aspire to and get back to.
And I think she always pointed to the fact that because she grew up so destitute, that she immediately knew like what the stakes were for people. And she knew that some people live here, some people live up here. And knowing that there's a gap there is sort of like fundamental to being a good person and to being able to acknowledge that kind of gap and be like, we need to strive so like everyone can kind of be like at least here with it. So
she gave away a lot of her money. I mean, look, she wasn't like a socialist, a communist. Like she wasn't like going crazy hard in the paint. But again, she like gave back, and she was just a good person. And I feel like we just don't have even celebrities or like you don't hear a lot of like where's the goodness, right, is not really there. In fact, I think to their detriment, it's like they have to politicize everything. And it's like, you could also just be like not a piece of shit.
Right, exactly. I mean, like the closest thing, like our next person, like maybe Miss Rachel, and like to your point, she's had to like wade in head first into like these very sort of like, political, quote unquote, political issues, even though I don't think there's anything political about being like, children deserve to live.
Bomb children.
Yeah.
And we should have health care. I mean, first of all, I love, this is sort of me eating my words, obviously, but like, I love when celebrities go political, because I'm like, I'm here for it. We have to be political. But I also am like, if you don't, like, again, even if you somehow are like personally against abortion or gay marriage or trans people, you could also say nothing and just be like, I believe in kids reading. And I'm not saying I think she was an incredible ally of the queer community. And like, I don't think obviously we just saw how she felt about trans people, but you know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. You could also just do a good thing and be like, yeah, these are my Christian values.
Yeah. I think kids should have school supplies in the area I'm in, and I'll give them away.
And exactly. Yeah. In a red state like Tennessee, where, I'm sure like Medicaid is not expanded, like, probably one of the worst, lowest in terms of education, healthcare, et cetera. Anywho, R.I.P. Dolly Parton to a real one.
R.I.C. Rest in cotton.
Rest in God. Thank you.
Let's not forget her final wishes.
R.I.C. Dolly Parton. Miles Gray. What are you bitching about in the dog days of August here in sweltering Los Angeles?
Same every time. Same. It's white mediocrity. I heard it came for you would have had video at your show, were it not for whoever that man was that you hired to do video. Right. Can format that card.
You sound like my reply guys.
Yeah. Pick me though. Like, I'll format a card for sure. I know how to do that. But then, like, I'm just like, I was out of town for a week, and I was just kind of like just checking in on the news, and just the Darlene Graham of it all has been so funny to watch.
So good.
Especially like, because, today this is the runoff between her and Ralph Norman.
Let's go, Darlene.
And just like seeing how she handled that debate answer to, like, even yesterday she was asked about it. So like, did you cover that like debate answer where she was asked about like,
we did not. And she was just like, I don't really know about that, but I do support the troops.
Yeah. She was like, Taiwan as it relates to the South China Sea, do you see that as a foreign policy issue? And if so, why? And she goes, huh? And then she goes, I love that her answer started off with, I'm going to be honest with you. Hold on, fool. You're running for fucking Senate. Okay. We're not trying. Don't do all right, you got me here. I'm
going to be honest with you. I am Lindsey Graham's sister, and that's the only reason I'm here.
I don't do that. So, but I do support the troops, and my brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, and I like the troops. Next question, please.
And Israel can just, take their hand out of his ass and just put it up mine and move my mouth with it.
I'm a puppet at the end of the day. I'm an aspiring puppet. And that's why I'm hoping that's why I have the endorsement of Trump, because I am a fantastic puppet. And then she was asked again about it on Monday, like, hey, what about this? That's when she finally, clearly, she's got like a comms team who was like, Darlene, don't ever be like, hey, I'm going to level with y'all. I'm ignorant as fuck. Don't do that. You got to pivot, right? If you don't know an answer, don't admit that. And the way she handled it this time was, well, you know what? People keep talking about the Taiwan thing. I'll tell you something. I've been talking to people all over this state, and the one thing I haven't heard about is Taiwan. People are talking about affordability, and that's what I'm focused on. I was like, okay, politics. Let's see where you go with that. And so she sort of spun that off, and then a journalist followed up with like, what about okay, so to that end, what kind of legislation do you think, we're looking at to do that? And she goes, well, you're just going to like, I'm just going to have to figure it out once I'm in there. What the Again, this level of mediocrity and incompetence is you only are allowed to do this if you're white in America. It's
if you're running as a Republican. It's just so funny. Like on the Democratic side, the ins and outs of like all of the, everyone's got their litmus tests. Everyone's got their consultants. Everyone's like, doting on every little thing that someone who supported you said. And meanwhile, on the Republicans, they're like, we're just running, the sister of Lindsey. She don't know shit, and we like it that way.
But she's a skin bag that votes like Mitch McConnell. That's really the only thing. Are you alive enough to be considered a vote in the Senate?
Are you sort of warm?
That's it. Yeah, and even then.
You got a pulse?
We can warm you up. If you're not warm, we can put some heating blankets on you and change the whole perception of you. But yeah, it's just like so funny to like see these answers come out. And then in the beginning, she was like insisting, she's like, this job wasn't handed to me. It was given to me by the governor. But I earned it in a way.
I'm desperately trying to find it.
Which one?
The this job wasn't handed to me, but
oh my God. And then she always just talks about like steaks being on sale. Like that's her like one folksism that she always tries to lean into to be like relatable to working people. She's like, I'm telling you, I don't buy steak unless it's on discount. Okay. And I'm like, fuck?
But she's heard of groceries. This is Trump saying that he doesn't really care because she's heard of groceries. She knows what groceries are.
Well, no, all she was is being honest. She's very smart, and she was being honest. I mean, she's into the price of groceries, the price of food, the price of beef.
She's into it. She gets down with it. She's like dabbled in the price of groceries.
She's a nasty little freak who gets down with groceries all the time.
This is this old-timey term. It just means like a bunch of different things in a bag.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff that you'd scream at your mother for not bringing home in the bag. Groceries.
And you know, and it's what that, you know, some people are into it. You know, the mood is right. You light a few candles, bring out the bag of groceries.
Oh, let's see.
And it hasn't been her thing, but she's surrounded by very good people. And she said that she's totally for the military. I mean, she's going to do what the military wants and really what the president wants. She understands.
There it is.
This is just him being openly like, she is just a yes vessel. A yes-hole.
It is my thing. And she is a terrific woman who answered. I watched that. I thought it was a very honest answer, actually.
What do you expect from a woman? It was an honest answer. Also, it's also the answer that like he gives all the time. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. The king of that. And also he's just so durable in that like egotistical way that it'll never get through that he doesn't know something. It's like, that's not even the question. I'm just going to talk about someone who died 5 years ago now to just completely throw everyone off.
Agreed. Darlene, well, we'll see if she pulls through. I mean, there is a part of me that wants to care, but isn't the person she's going up against just as evil? Like,
yeah, Ralph Norman is just a 100% nailed on hardcore right-wing conservative. Yeah.
It's
firebrand, as people would, describe in a euphemistic way.
As long as if Darlene's in there, we get content out of it. Like, it's a little bit more fun,
Yeah.
Wither the people of South Carolina, but
yeah, I mean, it's like even on some level, if there's someone who would even maybe vote 95% of the time with Trump, that'd be interesting. Because this one, I just feels like if it's Darlene Graham in there, then she's like, I have now turned into a rubber stamp. And just use me as you see fit, my lord. Yeah.
All right. Well, so much happened this week. Let's get into my two stories. Okay. Only two. Just, we don't need more. This is the week where. So over the weekend, this broke, which is that I think it was over the weekend. Maybe it was Monday. I don't know. It's been a very long 24. But Hakeem Jeffries, would be Speaker of the House, aspiring Speaker of the House, should Democrats regain control of Congress. Someone who's been pre-endorsed by a lot of people for no real reason. Also dubbed AIPAC Shakur by Charlemagne the God. That Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries this week met with Jared Kushner in a private meeting ahead of the midterms. Apparently, they discussed common ground, according to 5 people with knowledge of the meeting. Again, Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Donald Trump, currently trying to figure out how to do beachfront property on bones, making condos of the bones of dead Palestinians. And told Israel to, quote unquote, finish the job if Hamas doesn't agree to terms that Israel also has never agreed to nor made good on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about that last week. Here's my thing. Now, immediately it's like, all right, well, what do they talk about? Well, they're not disclosing. It was held in a private space in New York City, offered up by put a pin in this, mutual friend of the two men. According to two people with the knowledge of the meeting and a third who was briefed on it, they and others were granted anonymity to discuss a meeting about which they were not authorized to speak publicly. There is more, but just that's what we know about this meeting.
Yeah.
Common ground.
Common ground. They have a mutual friend. And I'm like, I think what just goes to show there isn't much between y'all, is there? If you have, who I don't have mutual friends with? My ops. Okay. But the homies, yeah, I have plenty of mutual friends with my friends. That's how that works. Usually people who are so odious to me, I'm not in orbit even of the people that they are around. Maybe every now and then, but that's like, so to me, I was like, I think it really reveals that there's really not much separating Jared Kushner and Hakeem Jeffries really in that sense, because they're clearly in the same circle where someone goes, can I get y'all together at my place for you to talk a little bit? You potentially the next speaker of the House, and you, the guy who said at the beginning of this administration, very hands-off approach, but you're like in charge of Ukraine, Gaza, Iran, your Albanian resort.
You're making hand over fist money from the Saudis, UAE.
Yeah.
Who aren't you making money from? You're invested in all kinds of military tech.
Yeah, exactly.
So what they have in common, I think we sort of already hinted about it, but that would be a love of a land called Israel, a love of taking money from Zionists. And that doesn't impact their politics. They have to fight fire with fire, So maybe Kushner was straight up handing Jeffries a wad of cash with which he will help his community in Brooklyn. And how dare you speak about his community and what money he will not take and what haikus he will not spit. So here's what in fact, I'm almost 100% sure I know who their go-between was.
Who is it?
It was someone who got unearned confidence in the Black community and someone who has earned confidence in the Zionist community. And that person would be Van Jones. Van Jones is a friend of Jared Kushner. Van Jones is known to have worked with Jared Kushner in Trump's first term. They worked on like the most minimal of criminal justice reforms, prison reform. And of course, they're still in touch. And now Van Jones is out here with like Noah Tishby and other Hezbollah. Like he's just gone full deep end, Hey,
the checks are drying up. You got to find new friends,
Exactly. And he did. It's every falling star, no matter whether you're in, Hollywood or politics, you go to Israel, get a little, some new shoes.
Yeah, it is interesting because when I saw that, when he was like, they had to speak on some issues that they had common ground on. I'm like, I'm like, before you get to the bottom of the list, right? You're thinking, okay, what could it be? So what's really pressing the country right now? Affordability? No, there's no fucking way that this guy who's trying to build a stolen land resort in a faraway land cares about affordability or working people. It's certainly not about immigration enforcement. It's certainly not about climate. It's certainly not about pollution or data centers. And I think that's where it's like there's an overlap really in, I think, whether it's the emergence or the popularity of like DSA candidates and progressive candidates who speak openly against collaborating with the Israeli government and arming them. And also just like I feel like for Hakeem Jeffries too, he's like that feels like something more common ground too. It's like there's a problem you guys have on your side that's getting a lot of popularity. These people are talking about
it's a problem on both sides.
Status quo that is actually drawing attention from our side too. And that's a problem for both of us people as the constant gardeners of the status quo in this country. Maybe we need to talk about this too, because it could be, there's so many things, but I think that's truly something where they're like, we're going to have to do something about this, especially in New York. A lot of people saying some stuff we don't like.
This exactly. It has to do with Israel. And number two, it looks good for Kushner and looks terrible for Jeffries. Look, everyone, even James Carville went off on how you don't meet with
You can't do that.
Jared Kushner.
That's like a spy having a meeting with a spider. You would never do that unless you're trying to get it. That's the problem with these people.
You're trying to get bit. That's a Black Widow. No, and that's so Jeffries has felt defensive, and he has taken to his front-facing camera to explain that actually there was a lot that Jared Kushner and he talked about, and that he would absolutely hold all of the Trump, you know, officials accountable for their many crimes, their corruption, the you know, illegal detention and murder of, you know, immigrants in this country and citizens as well. Here he is. Before I play
just finished.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? It's me, Hakeem. You know, just came off the set of 106 in Park.
Hakeem Jeffries is dressed in a like matching green Yankees hat. He's clearly like filming himself against like in the projects, like you know, on like Section 8 housing. There he is. He's like, he is just Hakeem from the block.
He couldn't look more like an undercover cop that's trying to buy weed from you at a concert ever. The second I'm like, look at this undercover ass right here. I'm like, bro, green polo with the matching Yankee. Come on, man. Come on, man. Just stop it.
It's so off the bat, you're like, oh God, no.
It's
It's so disrespectful.
Even when you're trying to curry favor with your community, you look instantly like a police officer. Somehow that's how fucked up your whole presentation is, that even when you try, you are so off-putting to people who look. I know every single person who saw this, who's dealt with undercovers or something, and knowing how undercovers dress in New York, who are just like, hey man, I'm like a New York guy with like kind of hip hop style, huh? Like, this is it. Sure. Hakeem.
No, you do immediate no trust, but okay, let's hear him out.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? Just finished up an event here in the community in Brooklyn.
Wearing
I want to
that?
give you a little real talk on this Jared Kushner situation.
Real talk, okay.
He asked for a meeting, and I took it.
Why?
To discuss the affordability crisis.
He had to think.
See, the affordability crisis?
Let him think. Let him cook a little bit.
It's coming. It's all poetry.
About you stomping out affordability crisis.
That's right.
I'm back.
It's not a hoax.
What? It's not a hoax?
Oh,
who's
he's
saying
Trump? He's probably talking.
Oh, Trump says it's a hoax. Okay. Then one day Trump says it's a hoax. The next day he loves the word. It doesn't. It's
right.
So okay. So you're gonna talk to like the like white collar crime like boy wonder over here about affordability. A man born with like 10 silver spoons in his mouth, whose dad was sent to prison because he was hoodwinking the American people. Like you're gonna. That's who you're talking about, fucking affordability. A man who's not even officially in office. He holds no, like, this is not meeting with Scott Bessent, right? This is not meeting with anyone who has any control over the treasury or the economy or anything. It's Jared Kushner.
How? Why? But
anyway,
I let him explain though, because I do like what he's doing.
It's gonna get boring real quick.
You know, they're probably talking about Zohran Mamdani and how popular these like younger candidates are, who are actually speaking like pretty clearly as to like what, like how we need to decouple the United States government from Israel, right?
Yes.
And but then I bet they were talking. He's like, yeah, but see, like, I don't know how Zohran did it, like how he got these people to like agree with it, rather completely ignoring the fact that it's like just repulsive to people with a human soul and can look at that and be like, yeah, this is good. But he's like, I think the trick is like he always talked about affordability and kind of use that as a thing. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll completely obfuscate and make sure nobody knows exactly what we're talking about. I'm gonna say affordability. That sounds good.
You brought up Zohran Mamdani. I mean, do you think that he and Zohran have had a meeting? Like, I don't know. I mean, I think he did finally endorse, unlike Schumer.
Right.
But like, are they meeting? And it speaks to something Zohran did say, but we'll talk about that in a second.
At the same period of time, I shouldn't have to say it, but I am. No one is going to get a pass We're going to hold every single member of the Trump cartel accountable.
Okay, but is Kushner part of that? Was that part of your meeting?
No,
to be like,
yes, exactly. He was exactly that part. He was telling me, don't mess with me, and I'll help you out, kind of, so you can have some. We'll find a sacrificial lamb to make it look like you're doing something when you're Speaker of the House to try and, you know, keep this establishment grip on the party.
exactly. I mean, honestly, like, I don't even think, you know, I would love to think that Democrats wielded enough power that this was somehow a meeting where Kushner sees the writing on the wall and is like, I don't know, you guys are going to win the midterms and just spare me. Like, that would be that's a bold meeting. Like that's a place of power. That's not what this meeting was about. It definitely was about Israel. I think you're absolutely right. It was about like, you keep your caucus in line when you become speaker to make sure you can go with our bullshit peace plan. You have to put lipstick on this pig, and we get checks from the same places, and we will invest in you. And if you eventually do leave office or you get primaried and you get out of there, we will have your back in perpetuity.
I have a great revolving door for you to go through, man. It'll be perfect. It'll be perfect. And I mean, yeah, like that's the one person when you think of like a person who has literally had like Benjamin Netanyahu sleeping at their house when they were
Jared
a kid.
Kushner.
Yeah, like that's a strong connection. But I'm sure that there's so like the establishment for both sides is probably looking at this and they're like, there's something bubbling up that we really need to fucking take care of in a way that's going to require coordination between the two of us, whatever that is, or what if it's some kind of quid pro quo thing, which I doubt. I just have a feeling when you look at Hakeem Jeffries, the guy who from the beginning of the second administration has only been like, you better watch out, Donald Trump.
You better not cry.
You better not telling you why, because everybody's getting a free pass in this administration. It's like I don't believe it. Even when
so he said that the meeting. So in a statement, Mr. Jeffries did not acknowledge the meeting, but suggested the only way Democrats would cut deals with the administration would be if Republicans were willing to come to their way on cost of living issues, his party's top priority. Throughout this Congress, Republicans have adopted my way or the highway approach to governing that has failed the American people. He added, in every conversation that we have had with the Trump administration, we'll continue to make explicitly clear the affordability crisis is not a hoax. Nothing short of transformational policy change is acceptable, except for Medicare for All, which he also this week said he doesn't support. Right. We're fighting for an affordable America. The question is whether Republicans will join us. Miles, he's already capitulating. Yeah. He's already saying, despite all evidence to the contrary, that he admits Republicans are unwilling to work with Democrats, I am willing to keep holding out this olive branch to you with which you pull and then fucking beat me over the head with. Right. Like, this is what he will do with majorities. And that's what they're signaling, is that even with a slim majority, what they're going to do is seek a middle, read moderate, read establishment, read pro-corporate ground with fucking who? Republicans.
Yep, exactly. It's, the other thing that I'm really curious about, just generally in like in what they're talking about is like, I'm wondering too, for the establishment, right? They're trying to fight off a wing of the party that's like really getting specific about affordability. And because Hakeem Jeffries and the DNC at large, they cannot do that because that's existential for them to reckon with capitalism. So they have to, all they can do are these weird gestures, which that whole soundbite sounded like that's him trying to say, well, before you go and vote for one of these people that's talking about how us in the establishment are doing nothing to address the affordability crisis, I just spoke to the ops about being like, you got to do something about this. And this isn't a hoax. Okay. That's the best he can do. And and it feels like the kind of habits that the establishment has to try and like make these gestures that like worked 20 years ago. But now, unfortunately, people's situations are far too extreme and precarious now to be able to like hold on to a soundbite or loose quote. It's like, I'm going to talk about it. Because at the end of the day, most people are too busy to even know Hakeem Jeffries is even having these conversations.
Absolutely. But it is like, if you want to pinpoint the moment that Democrats, hell, lose 2026, lose 2028, lose this country forever, this is one of those breadcrumbs. This is if you were forensicing it, you go back to something like this and say, hey, why was the supposed leader of the opposition party meeting with the fucking unelected, again.
This was in an era where they believed it was an opposition party. That was sort of like more of like a misnomer than anything. No, they were in fact both pulling in the same direction, just sort of two flavors of the same thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
here is Zohran Mamdani. Sadly, maybe the one thing I disagree with him about on whether he still supports Hakeem Jeffries for speaker, but he's not even in Congress anyway. I'm done.
Hi, Mayor.
Hey, Josie.
So 2 questions. I first wanted to just get your reaction to Times reporting on Hakeem Jeffries meeting with Jared Kushner. I mean, what do you think of Jeffries potentially being speaker in light of this? And then my second question is, it's now 2 weeks until the first day of school, and there's still no AI policy, and principals aren't supposed to buy new tech until there is one. So can you just give any update to that? Will it be coming in the next few days? I know this is a stressful issue for schools.
It is, and it is an issue of immense importance to us in the administration, and it is an issue that we will be speaking to soon. And to your first question, I continue to support Congressman Jeffries and his bid to become the leader.
Why? Why? When even the people that he supported in the primaries, against these, incumbent, like honestly do nothing corporate centrist Zionist Democrats, even they, Claire Valdez, Daria Liza Avila Chevalier, was like, I don't know if I support him. TBD. He's gonna have to earn my support.
Do something more than just wearing an oversized fitted Yankees cap.
Exactly.
Than that. Yeah, I think Zohran is realizing too how much to try and operate, you need to be working with these people to not go completely outside of like the party. It is a shame to see, because you're like, I honestly think you'll find enough support from people if you actually keep speaking truth to power. But everyone has their own very, very odd calculus for doing things. And supporting,
you could also not.
Yeah, I like the status quo.
You could also. It's once again, it's easy to be like, that's in Congress.
Yeah,
this is the New York. I'm focused on New York City. He's constantly talking about New York City, and obviously, and I also think there is something to be said about he's not dumb. Like, if your speaker is from New York, that's going to be. Just on some politics.
Yeah, you want an open line to that.
You want an open line to that. That is a potential positive for your state.
Sure.
Totally. For your city. So
and I feel bad because I just saw Zohran posted a self-facing video where he's wearing an even bigger Yankees cap, telling people it's not what it looks like. I wasn't caping for the establishment. I'm sorry, guys.
Wait, you think he's a Yankees fan? I feel like isn't he a Mets fan?
Oh, maybe he is a Mets fan. Yeah. I know he's Knicks, and I know he's Arsenal, baby.
Oh shit, that's right. Well, speaking of, I was like, basketball. Let's do it.
Speaking of sports ball, yeah. Speaking
of sports ball, we have got to talk about the WNBA and the drama that a couple men and likely backed by a bunch of billionaire money that I cannot prove at the moment.
They're certainly posting a lot of photos at the events very close to the people that are causing the commotion. So I think America First Policy Institute might have something to say about it.
Well, I don't even know what you're referencing. Like,
so there was one of the people from the America First Policy Institute, which is a organization started by Education Secretary Linda McMahon, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins, and Fox Business's Larry Kudlow. Their like executive vice president was like taking pictures when Enes Kanter was like, turning up at the game before he got ejected, and she was like tagging the institute in these photos.
There we go.
Done.
Yeah. It's done. Like he's a fucking plan. Okay, so we're talking about Enes Kanter Freedom, which sounds like the name of a building. It's not a real person. That is just the name of a building. Enes Kanter Freedom, who has I think about a month ago said he was declaring for the WNBA draft. And he identifies now as a woman, which is hilarious because now Fox News is jokingly trying to give him she, her pronouns. I think he should go all for it and have to go on, hormones.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Be about it. Yeah,
Be about that.
Well, it's like, I just hate such a bad faith way to try and even make a controversy out of this, to be so flippant about it. Like, oh, because to them, right, they think that being transgender is merely being like, I'm saying this today.
Yep.
That's that easy. That's how easy it is, guys, to just be a trans person. No, not to speak of the gender dysphoria or all these other things that come along with it. And no, it's just merely doing like, I'm trying to leverage.
It's always a bit. They're just doing a bit.
So I can get on the basketball team.
I mean, first of all, Miles, we all know that trans people have advantages. Look, they get in at a senior discount to movies. I don't know if you knew that, but they do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They get to go over bridges and roll. They don't pay tolls over bridges and roads.
Yep. We used to be a country. God,
seriously, and everybody knows that. Trans people.
Have you read that McSweeney's piece that came out a few years ago? It's by Lily Osler. It's called "Guys, I Swear I'm Only Transitioning So I Can Cheat at Girls' Sports." And it's like such a funny take on like this kid in high school who's like, oh my God, no, like I'm still me, dude. I'm still a dude. I'm just trying to get on the JV basketball team so I can win and then go to a college and then play pro. And then I don't know what I'll do after that.
But let's just back up, because this all came to a head. I mean, I want to back up to talk about who Enes Kanter Freedom is. This all came to a head when he goes to the Indiana-Chicago WNBA game, and he wears a shirt that says woman, noun, adult, human, female. Mind you, by the way, there is no trans player in the WNBA right now. That is not what's happening. No. And he was ejected from the game after an altercation with Natasha Cloud of Chicago. And here is that.
Chicago staying in it. Natasha Cloud. And right before the break, this was the scene inside Wintrust Arena after Natasha Cloud got that bucket. She wanted her voice heard. We have talked about the conversations surrounding the W. That is Enes Kanter in the building today. And he has voiced how he's felt about the situation. Natasha Cloud voicing her opinion as well. Kanter was just escorted out.
Okay, so he gets ejected. Now, here's my question, because I haven't been following it, but it seems like I know that's Caitlin Clark on the Fever, and Sophie Cunningham is also on the Fever. Sophie Cunningham is basically like a not very good but tall white player who says that I want to protect young girls in the locker room, or young girls in sports who shouldn't have to go against biological men. So she sort of squarely put herself on the, like, again, anti-phantom trans WNBA player discussion, non-discussion. Natasha Cloud, after that incident where she sort of like is stepping to Enes Kanter, is like posted on Instagram, every trans kid in person, she vows to protect them. And it was just really, really, again, a debate that is based on nothing, but is actually very, very morally important, nevertheless. And so that's sort of the broad strokes of all this. I want to ask about Enes Kanter, but first I want to just play you this clip, because people outside of this game were protesting the game itself and also protesting in support of the game itself. And here's someone asking whether the anti-trans protesters can name WNBA players, and take a look what they say. And you can tell who can name them and who can't.
Do you watch the WNBA normally?
Yes.
Are you going to the game tonight?
Yes.
Can you name 5 WNBA players?
No, I cannot. I'm sorry.
Jonquel Jones, Natasha Cloud, Brianna Stewart, Sabria Ionescu, Satu Sabali.
Can you name 5 WNBA players?
I sure can. I can.
Could you name 5 for me?
Sure. Sophie Cunningham. It's always fun when I get Caitlin Clark, Reese, Aja. I'm trying. Excuse me. I said Caitlin Clark.
JJ, Breonna Stewart, Inescu, Olivia Miles, Asia Wilson, Sue Bird.
Probably not. No, I could name Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. That's it.
Caitlin Clark as well. Sorry.
I'm sorry, but like, if you could only name the white women in the WNBA, that is
And reduce the
so
black women to one name. Then there's Reese, Aja, Asia Wilson. What? And again, yeah, because all of these people are just, they're astroturfing this whole outrage campaign. Because again, I think it's just so funny to see this like tired tactic of just smashing the culture war button when this administration is in total free fall.
Yes.
Because how are you going to have the ability to engage in discourse about data centers or poison food or summary executions on our streets when you got to talk about they're not letting Enes Kanter Freedom be a woman in the WNBA, and think that that's actually, I mean, like, it certainly is a distraction because the media is feeding into it. But for the, like, I think it's like this thing that they felt like they really ate with that in 2024. And they're like, this is our go-to thing. This is how we kind of get people riled up again to talk about something else, because we can't have people really, having conversations about everything that's going wrong and finding an objective source of that kind of those difficulties for them in talking about, what's happening in DC. So yeah, the best they can do is trot out, scrub ass Enes Kanter Freedom, who was not ever a good player.
That's what I wanted to ask, because I'm not going to pretend to know NBA or WNBA facts, stats, anybody. I couldn't name any players.
Yeah.
But I do know that white women in the NBA have been used as this, like, when Caitlin Clark came on the scene, it was like, how can we make her our, embattled white lady with all these like black women who are, clobbering her. Yeah. And playing the sport against her. How dare you not let her just win? How dare you foul her? And they couldn't really find an in with her. And then clearly they found an in with, Sophie Cunningham. And now I guess, fucking Enes Kanter. But it is like totally astroturfed, to your point.
Yeah.
Here he is. And just like the hubris, the like disgustingness. Laura Ingraham had Enes Kanter on her show, and this is part of their conversation.
How many points do you think you score in your first WNBA game against the number one team? How many points?
You know what? I mean, I think I'm going to try to beat Will Chamberlain's record. I might go something like over 100 points for sure.
Any fouls? Would you be called for any fouls in that game?
I mean, I think they're definitely going to try to, pick on me. But you know what? I'm just going to go out there and have fun. I'm ready to play, and I'm prepared to play.
Oh, okay.
100 points?
Yeah, I will be playing as Karen Abdul-Jabbar out there. That's my new name
I'm sorry, I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. 100 points is an insane amount of points to say that you would score. And this is someone who says they want to protect women's sports. They have every respect for women's sports. But if they, a man, cis man, were allowed to play, they would absolutely just destroy. And this is like the fucking fantasy of every anti-trans schlub out there, is like, me and my mediocre ball would destroy the WNBA.
Destroy you, yeah, exactly. And then you'll get rinsed, bro. I think the most he put up is like 30-something points in the NBA, and you're going against elite athletes in the WNBA. And I'm sorry, Enes Kanter Freedom, you're not doing that. But again, just keep the jokes up at the expense of trans people over an issue that doesn't exist, because certainly we can't have people talking about the real issues that are happening.
I mean, also, I think it's sort of important to name, like, not only is it like not at all to do with any of the issues that people most care about, but also the WNBA is kind of having a very banner year. Like they are, I think they've got more pay equity. They've got like advertisements. They're like the more television, like the
rights, the TV rights are
all
those deals are growing. Yeah,
the deals are growing. Like it's just a very good time at the WNBA. Which is always this chicken or the egg question, where every time you talk about to somebody about women's sports, not about trans people, obviously when we talk about trans people, they care, but they'll be like, nobody watches it. Just nobody watches it. Nobody watches it because there's no investment in it. Like invest a little bit, show the actual fucking game, and people would have a way to watch it.
Yeah, because the fans are there, and it's getting more and more interest. So it's hopefully just a matter of time because they get that critical mass of investment that really puts it over the top.
Yes. Miles, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you, follow you, listen to you?
Find me talking every day on the Daily Zeitgeist. And if you like 90 Day Fiance, I'm talking about that on 420 Day Fiance. And if you like even English Premier League football, I talk about that on Ain't It Footy. So check us out there.
I've been recommending that your Ain't It Footy show to people, and I also have a book to give you. So.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. Next time I see you, for sure.
We got to do our little World Cup in private. Private.
Yeah.
Roundup.
Yeah, for sure.
Miles, take care. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And thank you all. I'm going to remove my friend. Thank you all for being here as well. Hey, shout out to Athena Investments, who says, bitches, I got into Yale Law, free Palestine. I love that. Let's see. MedFizz, Alex, wife diagnosed with T1 breast cancer and will be having a double mastectomy this week. Blessed to have a health insurance through her job. So many in the U.S. without access to affordable health care, Medicare for all. So just sending you a lot of love. And I am also really glad and glad they caught it early because breast cancer is survivable. It's one of the most survivable cancers. It is about early detection constantly. And so it's one of the things that we just don't have as much. People don't always have access to regular exams. And also a lot of insurance companies won't cover your exam if you're under 40. But so many women I know are under 40 and have been diagnosed with breast cancer. So it's wild. And, this is the kind of shit that, that our boy, Abdul El-Sayed, is out here, talking about. And I just want to play this because I think it's very relevant to the conversation we were just having. Here's Jesse Waters trying to bark over, do you think men should play in women's sports to Abdul El-Sayed? And he bats it down beautifully.
I just want to understand what you're getting at here.
I'm getting at whether you think men should play in women's sports.
Senator in Michigan,
it's a big issue.
I'm interested in getting money out of politics, putting money in your pocket, and passing Medicare for all.
You're filibustering,
most people don't care about what sports kids play.
And you're filibustering.
I'm just
it's a big issue
because, I want
you
to
guys
talk about
kind of lost on that issue last time.
Deserve to hear about.
All right, so you want to answer that question?
What issue?
You won't answer the question.
What issue? Go ahead, Jesse. What issue?
Should men play women's sports? You have daughters, right?
I think that, look, I played sports my whole life. Sports were an important part of my life. I'm grateful for the opportunity to play sports. And at the end of the day, the decision of who gets to play what sports ought to be decided by the people who govern sports. I'm running for U.S. Senate. Jesse, it's insane. I'm out here trying to take on the healthcare crisis in big pharma, and you're asking me about who gets to play what sports. It's silly. People can't take you seriously.
It's kind of a big thing if you've been following the news recently, Abdul.
I don't know. It's kind of a big distraction we've been trying to throw to our base, and it's been doing really well for us. We have Fox's numbers have been pretty bad, but you might want to get in on this anti-trans thing. And Abdul saying this is silly. This is a distraction. This is ridiculous. I don't govern sports. If I were being elected, if there was to the head of the governing body of the NBA, okay, that is very different than running for Senate. I'm actually trying to take on the healthcare industry. I'm trying to take on private insurance. And so I love being able to keep that focus on where it should be. Because to Miles's point, yeah, this ate back when people could eat. You know what I mean? And now people can't eat, literally cannot afford groceries, physically don't want to eat their groceries because everything's got cyclospora and salmonella and, botulism. Maybe we're eating horse meat. Maybe we're eating infected meat from Argentina. We don't know. I didn't even get into the Argentina beef deal. So, yeah, it's very different times. It's amazing. And I think actually, as we progress as a country, because hopefully we will, mind the culture war distraction. Because every time things are actually doing okay, the right their rights narrative machine, their propaganda machine will have to work double time to convince you that it's the Joe Biden crime family, to convince you that trans people are a danger to your family, to convince you that children are peeing in kitty litters in schools, right? when that shit kicks off, it's actually kind of a clue that maybe things are not so bad. And also, what are they trying to distract from that is bad? You see what I'm saying? And when people that you might know get so easily lulled into that conversation, we have to do exactly what Abdullah Sayed did and reframe and refocus and keep people's eyes on the prize. Talk about the data centers, talk about the military surveillance, talk about the amount of our taxpayer dollars that are going to murder people abroad. And we are going to talk about that right now with my next guest, investigative journalist, drop site contributor, labor organizer based in Quito, Ecuador, where 4 generations of her family have lived and resisted U.S.-backed military dictatorships. No big deal. She's been featured on Democracy Now!, Breaking Points, and Cuba's revolutionary newsletter, Juventud Rebelde. Please welcome Camila Lourdes Galarza.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. You are doing some of the most incredible reporting I have ever seen, to the point where on specifically these illegal boat strikes in off the coast of Ecuador in Latin America, to the point where other outlets, New York Times, Washington Post, they have followed your reporting and have built on it. Maybe just talk to me about what it's been like to do some of this reporting where others are not covering.
Yeah, well, first, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the compliment. It means a lot coming from an experienced journalist like you. This is actually the report that exposed the 36 boat strikes, or the boat strikes on the 36 fishermen, and the torture operation was in fact my first investigative report. And so I feel very new to this, and also very grateful that there is getting media attention, because the growing US-backed military dictatorship in Ecuador, which is ruled by an American billionaire, a Miami-born and raised billionaire, has really been completely sidelined from the conversation. And I think, of course, there is so much attention on the genocide in Gaza, as there should be, on the US aggression on Iran. But I think that actually connecting the dots and realizing that both Operation Southern Spear and the same profiteers of the extrajudicial bombing campaign, which will now be completing a year next week, are the same American defense contractors who are operating in Gaza, and they have very similar political and class interests. So yeah, certainly it's been a little bit terrifying. Ecuador is one of the most dangerous, in the top 10 most dangerous countries in the world to be a journalist. And I think a lot about the Palestinian journalists who call themselves accidental reporters. That's very much what it feels like to me. My background is in community organizing and labor organizing, but I have been documenting the growing U.S. intervention here, and having organized for a while in Colombia. I have seen this exact playbook that's being implemented in Ecuador play out there, and I know exactly how it ends. So hopefully this can garner some more outrage and action from the American people too.
Yeah, well, let's get into it, because you said a lot there, and there's so much to dive into. Starting with, you write that 223 people have been killed in boat strikes in waters off Latin America, specifically in the Caribbean and off Ecuador in the Pacific. This is all under the guise of we're going after narco trafficking, narco terrorists. Has there been any evidence provided by the Department of Defense, Pete Hegseth, anybody involved into that effect?
No. So yes, next week marks a full year of Operation Southern Spear. Those are that's a death toll. It is not the totality of those impacted, because there are survivors who are left in wheelchairs with 70% vision loss, tortured and waterboarded. And as you say, the Trump administration has provided no evidence that any of the victims of these extrajudicial massacres were carrying drugs. The few who have survived have generally been found innocent. The first 2 survivors because there's been very few given the nature of the kinetic strikes. But the first 2 survivors were rescued in October of last year, and they were released and repatriated to Colombia and Ecuador without charges. And the 36 fishermen who survived the boat strikes and torture operations that I uncovered were found by Human Rights Watch to have no violent or drug-related felonies in any of their criminal records. Many of them didn't, but if they did, there was very small misdemeanors. And they were also searched and cleared hours before the bombing by the Ecuadorian Coast Guard. We've been able to independently verify that through vessel tracking data, which shows the Ecuadorian Coast Guard patrolling and reviewing their boats. But the hunting of innocent civilians is not limited to maritime operations. In March, Pentagon bombs were dropped on campesino workers at a dairy farm in Ecuador's Amazon, who were then, as I mentioned, waterboarded, electric shocked, beaten, and this served as the first authorized joint strike between the Trump administration and the Latin American government, notably one whose president actually does have ties to drug trafficking. So again, he's an American billionaire, and his family shipping corporation, which is one of the biggest banana conglomerates in Ecuador, which we know accounts for the majority of trafficking. Banana conglomerates account for the majority of trafficking to Europe. And his in particular were found to be trafficking 26 million euros worth of cocaine to Croatia. And he has also been accused by cartel heads for offering immunity deals in exchange for whipping votes. So there wasn't any evidence of drug trafficking either on the farm or the fishermen, but there is in his case, right? And I think the interests in the farm case in particular highlights what a very common contradiction, which is that while there were no guerrilla camps, as they said, there was Ecuador's largest or second largest deposit of oil in that region. And I think that really highlights the true intention behind Operation Southern Spear. And listeners don't have to believe me, the general commander of Operation Southern Spear of the U.S. Southern Command actually said this back in 2023, that the reason why she wanted to expand into Latin America was because of our large plethora of rare minerals and rare earths.
The head of Southcom said that. So the head of
one of the generals, Laura Richardson, I believe is her name.
Okay, so there is a lot coming to a head. This is resource extraction. This is trumped up, drug cartel charges that actually look like they're more they're simply a diversion from what possibly President Daniel Noboa himself is involved in, combined with obviously the resurgence of the Monroe Doctrine and just all kinds of militarism in the region. So just so we are clear, we're talking about Daniel Noboa and his reign in Ecuador, which we've not really talked about. A lot of people know more about El Salvador and Bukele over there because of the prison camps, because of like the mass detention, because of Americans or immigrants living in this country being shipped over there. So I before we go back to the 36 survivors, I did want to ask you, what has Ecuador been like under Noboa? And if you can expand on that.
Absolutely. So what's growing in Ecuador is a U.S.-backed military dictatorship. We've been under now 23 martial law decrees. Every interview I give, I have to update that number because he's renewed yet another martial law decree. This martial law decree, first and foremost, gives our armed forces the right to conduct military raids on homes and wiretap our communications without any warrant, without any cause needed. It also notably gives U.S. troops, private defense contractors for the DoD, and all civilian personnel who work for the DoD or U.S. agencies total diplomatic immunity in our country. They are shielded from any civil or criminal law, and they're operating. They've been deployed here since Manta. They've been deployed in Manta since December. And I think that that's a key piece of information because I think later we're going to talk about the assassination of the prosecutor who was investigating what we now know is a CIA operation. And that her murder, where she was gunned down, was in Manta, where we see the largest presence of U.S. military of Blackwater. This dictatorship actually began with Blackwater patrolling our elections at gunpoint, particularly in working class and rural areas.
Blackwater? So you got your Eric Prince is involved in this shit?
Eric Prince himself came on TV and said he was here to ensure that the people of Ecuador chose law and order, and that Noboa has been a great example of law and order, which I thought was hilarious because when Blackwater was deployed to Afghanistan, the production of opium and heroin actually tripled up to like 60%, I believe. And so I would never have bought that Blackwater Mercs or anyone related to the U.S. is actually trying to, stop drug trafficking. But that's what they claim.
Let's just go back to, okay, what makes your reporting so incredible is you were able to speak with 36 of the survivors of, was it 2 or 3 boat strikes off the coast of Ecuador? What did you learn about from these survivors? What happened to them? Just take us through, and who do we now know did this to them?
Yeah. So what we now know is a CIA operation due to a government source with knowledge of this telling Washington Post, is that between January and March, there were 3 boats that were attacked with the same chilling pattern. The first was on January 20th, and the last was at the end of March. All of them reported U.S. drones circling above, an American blue patrol ship closing in, and then subsequent bombing. That bombing left their boats completely destroyed. It left them with their feet torn to flesh and bone. One of them, Jordi Flores, he's only 21 years old, and he's been in a wheelchair for months. He can't work. Another one who's around my age has been, dealing with lesions and has lost 70% of his vision. And so we actually corroborated much of their testimony with NASA thermal images that found the explosion. We then also located a Shield AI drone at the site of the crime. It was hovering in the hours following the bombing, but it matches the description that the fishermen say was circling them before they were attacked. And then the first crew, they disappeared and they have not been seen since. But those who returned, the 36 who returned, they reported being kidnapped essentially by what they call gringo soldiers, who hooded them, tied them up, and then starved them for up to 8 days on that U.S. flagged patrol ship. And then they brought them all the way to El Salvador, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Let's take it. So according to your reporting, they're like, all we know is they were like speaking English. They were like, white guys, and they took them on board their ship, right? Hooded them, deprived them of water, and then they take them all the way to El Salvador. What happened? What happens next?
Yeah. Well, we know that El Salvador has been, and Bukele has been, such a key partner, right, in both Trump's, deportation program, in the torture of both political prisoners and working class people in El Salvador. And the El Salvadorian Navy was complicit in this operation as well. They told the survivors that a U.S. agency had called them in, asked them to pick them up, bring them to their immigration center. Essentially, they wanted to wipe their hands clean. And we actually have public confirmation by Bukele himself of this being an assistance that El Salvador offers the Trump administration. And so then they were taken, and they were not allowed to immediately call any or get in contact with any of their families. And eventually they were sent back to Ecuador. Of course, Ecuador has failed to investigate this. They've failed to ask for any accountability from the United States DOD, because that is essentially their funders and they're like the pack behind them, right? But there are still 8 missing men. The wives who these men served as, the breadwinners from their families, their wives are living without electricity. Their lights are turned off. I've been trying to coordinate TV interviews with one of the wives, Maria Mero, so that she can tell her story herself. And we have been having trouble even being able to get them Wi-Fi. And so this is, actually one of the mothers, Maria's mother-in-law, died waiting her son to come home. Their daughter, who's young, has been having panic attacks in the hospital. And so this incident isn't like solved or over yet. And it's certainly harrowing everything we've discovered so far.
Yeah. I mean, the also, I think the addition of torture, can you speak to like, you know, why and were they asked like, whoa, what cartel are you part of or whatnot? Like this again, you mentioned Afghanistan, and it does feel very relevant just in terms of the like barking up every wrong tree to find, to solve a problem that doesn't even exist. That was very on display in that war.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, I think that there is a culture within, all militaries of under like capitalism, but particularly the United States, that just feels entitled to treat working class Black and brown people, especially in the global South, as just play toys for their sadistic fantasies. And I think that's exactly what happened here. It was very quickly, according to the survivors' testimonies, that they realized the mistake that they had made. After they hooded them, after they were holding them gunpoint, they put them on the metal deck. It was hot and it was scorching, and many of the men still today have burns and scars from simply being like, basically bare-skinned on this hot metal deck. And it was at that point that the fishermen told them, we were searched and cleared by the Ecuadorian Coast Guard. And the men began to argue with each other and yell at each other, realizing probably the mistake that they had made. But of course, that doesn't then prompt them to, bring them back to a nearby military base, which was, just a few hours away. No, instead, they want to prioritize the safety of their covert operations, their illegal extrajudicial operations. And so to silence these men, they bring them all the way to Central America. They don't give them food. We have pellets that one of the survivors says was actually inflicted after. So he has wounds from after they were attacked. And so it seemed like this was, the whole 8 days were an entire nightmare. It wasn't just an oopsie daisy. It was really even after they realized that these men were innocent. And even if they hadn't been, I just, feel that responsibility to say that these men, even if they are carrying drugs, are entitled to due process, and also to an understanding that it is the U.S. destabilization of our countries that even forces people to have to work for the cartels in the first place.
There's a little bit of a connection on a story I didn't talk about today, but I wanted to, which was that in Florida, a mother and daughter were in a car accident, and they, in the hospital, were attacked and detained by ICE officers. The mother with a pending asylum order, an asylum case, legal permit to work, social security number, as with the daughter, I think. And they were like, nope, we're removing you. They were from Ecuador. They are from Ecuador. The mother's her asylum claim is in part because she says she was threatened with kidnapping. So just to say, like, the cruelty, it goes, is cross-continental when it comes to people escaping, authoritarian dictators in South America, and then coming to the United States, and then escaping our authoritarian dictatorship, or being, repressed. And I guess I wanted to talk about then this prosecutor, because the 36 survivors were not without representation. It wasn't going to go unnoticed. And you reported that, what was it, in March, or that the lead prosecutor was gunned down in the town of Manta, along with her sister, just on the street, murdered. Can you just talk about who this prosecutor was and what pattern that fits into for, prosecutors and justice officials in Ecuador trying to sort of, at least get to the bottom of what happened?
Absolutely. Well, first, I want to thank you for pointing that out, because the U.S. terror on Ecuadorians doesn't stop, within our national borders. Ecuadorians are one of the most deported and persecuted by ICE in New York. They are the nationality most detained by ICE. And so certainly it's the reason why we've seen this huge wave of migration is exactly because Ecuador is the most dangerous country in the entire Western Hemisphere. We actually have a higher per capita rate of violent death than Ukraine, which is now in its fourth year of war, right? So so it is a real armed conflict that we're experiencing, and it's a result of the IMF coming in and moving all of our public infrastructure loans into security, programs. But those the person who moved those loans, and sorry, I'll get to the assassination just a second.
Yeah.
But the person who moved those loans was in fact the personal attorney of Noboa, who represented the drug traffickers who were found trafficking the cocaine on Noboa's ships. He was later appointed as the Minister of Health, despite having no experience in managing health. And as soon as he's appointed, he defunds all of our public health, and he moves those loans over to repay IMF debt. And so I think it's really hilarious that this guy's like, oh, well, we need this because we're trying to secure the country. We're still having some of the highest homicide rates Latin America's ever seen. And again, that's because that's just really not their intention. Public safety, especially for the working class, is not their intention. And I think that shows exactly it has a lot to do with Bravo's assassinations, right? She and her sister were gunned down in Manta, again, where U.S. troops have been operating with total diplomatic immunity since December, despite a constitutional ban on U.S. military bases in the region. I'll just mention, we banned those in 2007 due to precisely the United States sinking civilian shipping boats off the coast of Manta. And again, we ratified it in a November 2025 popular referendum. And still, so the presence of it is illegal. And so she had been facing immense pressure by the Attorney General's office, who we know, thanks to a drop site investigation from 2024, is completely intervened by the U.S. forces. The Attorney General was found to have, through leaked chats, have conversations with the U.S. ambassador and also with local politicians in Ecuador, where they were shown to be plotting to frame the assassination of Fernando Villavicencio, one of the right-wing presidential candidates who was actually leading before he was killed, to frame it on the left-wing party, despite there being no evidence of the left-wing Revolución Ciudadana party being involved. However, I'll just note, Noboa was polling at 3% before that guy was killed, and then he won the presidency. So I'll just say that. I can't say.
Remind us when he was elected again.
He became like an interim president, and then he was like formally elected in 2025. So actually and he became an interim president, I'll just say, because we overthrew the last guy, Guillermo Lasso, who was also a right-wing U.S. proxy by general strike. And so it's actually only been like a little bit over a year of Noboa being in a formal presidency.
I think there's an interesting, not to just totally compare. I think that, Salvadoran people are obviously organizing, and working against, what Bukele has done. But unlike maybe Bukele, who enjoys like a lot of popularity, right? And for many, many reasons we don't have to get into, it's interesting to see that like you've got this referendum reaffirming like we don't want U.S. bases in Ecuador, and meanwhile they're American troops. And again, you've talked about it's CENTCOM, it's CIA, it's Coast Guard. They're all involved in these kinds of operations, and they're working together. It sounds like there is more popular resistance in Ecuador than we're seeing elsewhere, despite the Miami-born MAGA adjacent leader. So that's good. Of course, it's fucking wild to me that this is like maybe the biggest story of the year, that this prosecutor looking into the circumstances of the kidnapping, torture, and bombing of these fishermen's boats has been murdered. Like, I'm sorry, like under what, like this is the tail on this should, and I hope is long. And I hope HEGSETH has to answer for it. The guy is very funny in deflecting. He loves to deflect blame about these boat strikes because it seems like no one's really proud of these boat strikes. They haven't been able to manufacture any, we got this narco trafficker, Maybe you can speak to a little bit of that, like, what is all of this about? Because I think we are seeing the resurgence also of the failed war on drugs that terrorized so many in Latin America and led to mass migration into the United States. Cooperation with the CIA actually themselves implicated in the drug running and the drug trafficking and the protecting of the drug lords. How much are we back there?
Certainly. So family members of mine were tortured and detained by the CIA in the 80s under the same Operation Condor tactics. And those same folks have told us that what we're seeing, the resurgence of the Monroe Doctrine, is probably, actually, I've heard some folks, some comrades too, say it's even worse than what Operación Condor was, that it's possibly the most in extreme U.S. military dictatorship that we've seen since the beginning of democracy in Ecuador. And they've always been tied to drug cartels. For example, the AUC was a huge right-wing paramilitary cartel that was founded by a former IDF colonel and is now one of the biggest, terrorizing right-wing paramilitaries in Colombia, who Abelardo, the current president who was just elected, actually represents. And so he served as their attorney for ages, and they have faced
an Israeli-backed far-right, like what paramilitary group that also are they involved with drugs and cartel activity was defended by the current president, who's a lawyer. Also, is he also Miami born? I think he's a dual citizen. He's a U.S. American Colombian citizen. Again, Colombia kind of being one of the last sort of points of resistance against this new Monroe Doctrine with Gustavo Petro, and now ping-ponged to Abelardo. That's insane. Yeah. That's just like, you can't write this shit, Camila, right? But you're trying. You're like, this is insane. Can you just, we've got Pete Hegseth. He is, the unveiling the America's Counter Cartel Coalition. Abelardo in Colombia is like, oh, we'll help you train. We're going to, we'll help you do joint missions. What's the countervailing force? Like, where do you see openings? Where do you see which countries, which leaders, which movements? Like, what's the grain of, the hope here in terms of, you see all these Latin American leaders falling in fucking line, because I think, as you very well put it, it really is about a class war. It really is about sort of this, broader elite, American elite class that hates their own people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, well, I think that certainly, I have hope that Latin America's revolutionary worker bases have overthrown dictatorships. They have overthrown presidents. It's something that we did just, a couple years ago in Ecuador. And so I don't want to, be hopeless. But I also think that there's certainly a discrepancy between the technology, the funds that they have for this war. And, there are historically left-leaning progressive governments like AMLO and like the Morena party, who even they are running joint, military trainings. They have, to what I essentially assume is going to be an escalated role in Operation Southern Spear. And we saw, for example, the downsizing of the oil shipments that were being sent to Cuba earlier this year. And so certainly I think that everyone is under a gunpoint, under the gun, literally. And we saw just a couple months ago that CIA operatives were found operating in Mexico without Scheinbaum's knowledge. But I also think that we have to recognize there are two labor bases, right, in the global South. There's both the labor base that is in Latin America that mines and produces all of that natural resources that are then stolen and taken to the United States, and then there's also a labor base in the United States made up like all of the food and the construction and the basic necessities that make life possible are made possible in large part by immigrants from the global South, who are essentially in working slave labor, just like enslaved Black people in the prison. So yeah.
And again, this is being carried out by literal white nationalists who hate immigrants, hate immigrant labor, don't recognize it, think it's benefit from it, but don't recognize it, don't want to pay it equally, and want to detain and maim the people providing it. And yet here they are ensuring even more and more people displaced from their homes. I mean, what happens to those the dairy farm workers who get fucking blown up because their government wants to drill for oil along with the United States. Like, what happens to the family members of the 223 people killed, or what, like, where do you think they're going to go? Where do you think they're going to seek a better life when you fucking are killing fishermen? It's just so fun. Like, I mean, it's almost the point, right? Because it's like they just care about body count and how many people they can kill. Before we go, I do think it's important for Americans to know that we have a role to play. And I was curious because, you talk about how the boat strikes have this sort of similar pattern where like a drone first kind of goes and surveils the land. And that drone technology, you have linked to companies in the United States. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yes. Shield AI was the American defense contractor that we found operating at the site of the bomb. They have an $800 million contract with the U.S. Navy. They have also sold equipment throughout the genocide in Gaza to the IDF. And they are now being contracted by the U.S. Coast Guard, who we actually found video and eyewitness recordings of having operated in near the bombing and then also along the exact same route that the fishermen were taken. So we're pretty sure that this, Shield AI had some extent, some role to play. They are located in San Diego, as are many of, along the West Coast, a lot of these tech and American defense contractors. And I would certainly call on, any listeners who may be in the States and who want to organize against some of like these port strikes of like not moving any more equipment to terrorize Black and brown folks in the global South. There is an importance of, supply chain that starts and is made possible through workers in the United States. And I think being able to win them over to our side and say, hey, like stop contributing to the genocide of people all across the global South is a key role in how we defeat Operation Southern Spear.
Absolutely. I mean, and also, Shield AI, it's in the name, but like these are the same companies that, target a girls' school in Iran and say, this is a whatever, this is a military outpost. It's like, you guys are relying on fucking AI for this shit. I mean, exactly. I am not, but if I were in the CIA, I'd be like, hey, back in my day, we used to do this the old fashioned way, like, right. And maybe we got it more right. Although again, I think, to the resource extraction point, to the broader consolidation of power point, safety, going after drugs, none of that has ever been the goal in U.S. militarism, especially in Latin America. But Camila Lourdes, you are such a gem. Please stay safe. I know that feels ridiculous to say, but please stay safe and come back anytime. Where can people follow you, find you, and also support you? I saw you actually launched a Patreon not so long ago, and I would love for you to plug that.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So, my Patreon is Camila Lourdes, my name. Please support. Freelance work is not easy, and especially under the gun of this U.S. military dictatorship, all the funds will go towards, equipment and travel costs to document all of this. My Twitter, people can find my writing at Soviet with Sasson, I'm a contributor to Dropsite. So please check out those reports. I feel like they don't get enough credit because of their principled stance on Palestine and Palestinians' right to resistance, but they've been doing such incredible reporting on Latin America. So thank you so much for having me and for giving me this opportunity.
Oh my God, thank you. I think Dropsite just collects some of the best journalists around the world, and so I'm so glad that they've got their you got connected with them. And everybody, go please support Camila Lourdes on Patreon or also on Substack and on Twitter. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Take care. Like literally the best work, like fucking, like if only the New York Times wishes, you know what I'm saying? Everyone please go support Camila, on Patreon. I'm sorry. I just lost my train of thought. I'm going to read some comments and get out of here. What a show. Thank you to Tanya Dodgers, michelada. Do you want a michelada? Oh yes. I had forgotten what a Bloody Mary was, but micheladas are, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, michelada, I gotta be in a very specific moment, but a Bloody Mary, I'm like, I'm a vodka bitch, you know what I'm saying? Dusty says, for the brunch show, someone should craft a bespoke cocktail, the Bloody Francesca. Maybe we can do that. I'm gonna get in touch with the venue and see if we could do that. Kevin Corner says Dolly died with a net worth of $650 million. So all billionaires are bad, right? So 650 millionaires can be good people, but 1,001 millionaires can't. You know what? I don't really understand what you're trying to say with that. Are you saying we shouldn't be happy that Dolly Parton donated to charity and started, foundations and libraries? I think that's what generally good people do. And some of it's a tax write-off, but also Dolly Parton was not invested in weapons, not trying to invest in AI. She's not doing a Gwyneth Paltrow. She's not doing a Reese Witherspoon. I think we can claim a good person, friend. And unless you're a billionaire, which I know you're not because you didn't super chat, shut the fuck up. Because you're probably going to be, unless you want to be, fuel for Elon's jet that he's going to crash into the moon. Okay? Thanks. Rachel Atwood, 1 week till the Massachusetts primaries. Trust the man in the yellow van. Vote for Wayland in Massachusetts first. Send Richie Neal packing. Avenge Alex Morse. Yes, avenge Alex Morse indeed. And thank you guys so much for all the love. I'm going to do the fart song now. And thank all the patrons at $10 or more, all the people who have become members over on YouTube and on Twitch. Thank new patrons, Eric, Brayton Norman, welcome. And all the new patrons in general, at $5, mwah, I see you. Thank you on YouTube to Anna Riley, to Tote Rola, to P. Will Smarth, to Ash Marie, Kevin Rutan, Clyde Simpkins. Make sure to check out all that bonus content. Don't sleep on all the hot button episodes, the AMA, all that good stuff. Over on Twitch, thank you, Looney Tunes 9000, for subscribing 31 months strong. Thank you, Maple Takes, back in the day, for giving a shout out. And thank you for your super chats. Welcome, Clyde. Welcome, Athena Investments. Thank you, Athena, for man. Athena just happy that they got into Yale Law. Now flaunting money, but thank you so much for gifting those memberships. That is so generous of you. Welcome, Life Girl. Thank you, Angel Ninja. And thank you, Margarine Tater Bean, for the sweet, sweet beers. That's the michelada that we are cheersing. I just need to stop this. You guys follow us everywhere. Bituation Pod, Bituation Room, on all the things. Come see us live. Next stop Seattle, next stop Portland with Abby Martin, Mike Figueredo. It's going to be super good. Matt Lieb, of course. Thank you to Andy Vasoyan. Thank you to Paige Omek. Thank you to Brent Godin. And we'll see you on Friday, bonus stream with Wajahat Ali, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And until then, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Bye.